Welcome back to the Diet Debunk here at Hippocrates Health Institute. I am joined by world-renowned nutrition and lifestyle expert Brian Clement.
Welcome!
We are going to be debunking the Sirtfood Diet today. So you may have heard about this diet. It's actually been around for quite a few years, but it has become recently popular because celebrity singer Adele has actually lost a lot of weight on it. We're excited for her. We're glad she's feeling good about herself, but we want to discover a little bit more about this diet and a little bit more about what it has to offer people and really get to the key components. We're going to be judging this against the Hippocrates lifestyle, what we do here at Hippocrates Health Institute. So Adele lost over 40 pounds, so great for her. But what is exactly the Sirtfood diet? So there's two principles that happen here in the Sirtfood diet. And the very first one has to deal with caloric restriction. And that's actually something we talk about here at Hippocrates a little bit. Brian, what is caloric restriction? What does it mean to you?
So the standards in nutritional science is we look at calories, and we've given a designation for each food, which unfortunately isn't always accurate. So as an example, they would tell you that a banana has higher caloric value, not as good for you, as white bread. So all too often when we talk about caloric restriction, that's the limited view. Now, reducing calories in a scientific way of looking at it has actually proven to prolong lives and to reduce disease. It's a very simple principle. The less you eat of bad things, the healthier you are and the longer you live. And that's exactly the premise of this. I don't think we should go back to the old days when we talk about caloric intake when it comes to dieting. We should talk about the energy in food, the nutrients in food, the micronutrients in food, how they build a strong anatomy and muscular system, which is really what you're after. You're not just about being thin, it's about being muscular and tight.
You know, I was actually thinking about that the other day. I was like, you know, there was a time when people actually counted every calorie that they were taking in. And I was wondering if people still do that today. Do you know if that's still a thing?
Oh, they do. I mean, it's just, they keep you busy doing that. And you get so nervous, you start eating potato chips.
I think it would make me eat potato chips at that point. Way too much to keep track of there. So another principle of the Sirtfood diet is the Sirtfoods themselves are considered to have certain enzymes that help with the metabolic process. And they're supposed to be beneficial for different integrations within health. And that's why in the Sirtfood diet, they say that by eating more of these kinds of foods within your regular type of diet, restricting your calories, it'll give you better longevity. It's basically the diet for life extension in many ways. So that's how they tout it to be. A little bit more history on that is the fact that the Sirtfood diet, it was created by two nutritionists over in the UK.
Well, I would call them pop nutritionists.
I would agree, pop nutritionists. And they work with a bunch of celebrities there, and they consider it a revolutionary diet plan. And a big premise behind it also is that they say it's going to increase the metabolism and reduce inflammation, which, you know, we could say a lot of healthy diets in general, they should be reducing your inflammation, right?
Well, anytime you eat more plants, you're going to reduce inflammation. Anytime that you eat any level of animal food, you're going to increase inflammation. Anytime you sit and don't exercise, you're going to increase inflammation. These are very simple principles. So this is not revolutionary, it's antiquated, frankly. They're taking little good bits and pieces from a lot of programs that have been around for a century or more and literally making it quasi-science. This is not real science we're talking about. The enzymes in the food, I looked this over extensively, are literally very low amounts of these enzymes compared to foods like germinated nuts, seeds, grains, and beans, or even taking the supplemental enzymes, which I take a lot of for anti-aging.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I think is interesting about the Sirtfood diet is the whole fact that they say you can basically stick with your normal diet. Whatever you're eating now, you know, stick with that. But what we want you to do is just kind of add these foods in and your body will like it better. You'll lose some weight and you will also increase your lifespan, reduce inflammation. So we're going to get into 20 of the top cert foods. So if you're consuming this diet, and something that's interesting here is that they are all actually plant-based. So, I mean, that's a positive, but are they the most beneficial foods you should be eating? We're gonna talk about that a little bit more. So the first thing we have on the list is kale. Brian, thoughts on kale?
Well, kale happens to be a very healthy food. It's become a superstar of the green vegetables. It's nothing we've ever put in green juice. Remember, we invented green drinks. Back in the 1960s, we came up with the very first green juice, but ours is based upon not only the celery that I know they tout with this, not only the cucumbers, which I know they tout with this, but more importantly, half of our green juice are sprouts that have significantly higher enzymes. I would say 10 to 50 times more enzymes than do the common vegetables. Another thing I've noted, they've never pointed out that you should be eating organic food. And kale has a notorious side. Now, many people, especially women today, have thyroid problems. As a matter of fact, only a generation ago, a little over 25 years ago, about 20% of women were known to have hyper or hypo, high or low thyroidism. You could have Graves' disease. There's a number of different problems that can come from this. And what you have to know is kale is part of a family, the cruciferous vegetable family, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, broccoli, etc., that are really healthy, anti-cancer for you, but they actually aggravate the thyroid. They have something called goitrogens in them that prevent iodine uptake. And one of the underlying causes of thyroid problems happen to be you can't or don't have enough iodine, your gland can't take enough up. Now, so that you know this, anyone that's overweight or obese, literally, as I was at one point, have taxation on the thyroid gland. And the last thing you want to do is eat lots of kale, and I know you're going to speak later about how they tell you to juice kale. The highest amount of juice that they're telling you to take in this so-called green juice, which isn't really a green juice, they put in there apple, that nullifies it being a green juice, high caloric intake, apple basically spikes the blood sugar, and the other problem is they're trying to make this popular by saying, do what you've always done. Just add some healthier food in.
Right.
So this is a tricky way to deceive the public. My God, if they want to go halfway up the mountain, can you imagine if they come all the way up to the top where we are? We're leading the world with this. Our weight loss program here, the average person loses 20 to 30 pounds in the 21 days.
Yep.
And by the way, with no iffy things, no thyroid concerning things, no apple that's going to make it high, and no, we're not going to tell you to eat horribly bad things that you already have. That's why you're chubby to begin with. What do you think?
So if we start that with kale, I mean, let's go from here. So a few of these I'll run past. We'll stop on the most interesting ones. So the next one just happens to be the elixir of every middle-aged woman, which is red wine.
Oh my Lord!
So they actually said that this is beneficial, and I'm sure you kind of know a little bit of the background of why some people talk about, you know, red wine as being healthy for you. Do you want to touch on that at all?
Well, resveratrol is what you find in grape skin, not in the grape itself, and certainly not in the fermented sugar of the grape that makes you chubby. I can promise you, in the 50 years I've done my work, that 1/3 of the people who are overweight here notoriously tell us, and our medical team, that they're drinking wine on a daily basis. Oh, I'm only drinking wine. Wine is alcohol. If I want to make you chubby, I give you alcohol. Bad news!
All right, so a few other ones here. We're just going to run past these are strawberries, onions, soy, parsley, extra virgin olive oil, which is, you know, not that bad. Dark chocolate, 85% cocoa. Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate is something that is touted to be nutritionally dense. It's a health food. But remember, they process this. They don't say raw cacao here. They say dark chocolate. Once you cook this high fat, it becomes a carcinogen and actually contributes to cardiovascular disease, strokes and heart attacks. Number two, you kill the nutrient load in it and take the enzymes away that they're touting to be what they have in these foods. The other thing, I don't see raw on any of this. So if they tell you that you can cook these foods, they're lying to you. Because once you cook a food, kaput, finito, to enzymes.
So the next one is capers, followed by coffee. So we've talked
Who
about
the hell eats capers? I mean, what, you got to be kidding me.
my British
Capers.
grandmother.
What, they put a couple of capers on something. You're going to eat bottles of capers now?
I mean,
What happens if you eat a lot of capers? What do you turn into? A kaput?
I don't know. They're very salty, are they not?
Very salty, my God.
Okay, good. We're on the same page. But what about coffee? So this is also considered to be a health food as a part of this diet.
Well, I mean, anyone that would tell you coffee is a health food hasn't read the real science. You've read the propaganda from the coffee industry that pays for quasi, make-believe, fake science. That's what I can tell you. Coffee is dangerous for you. It creates acidity in your body like you've never seen. One thing that every single serious nutritional scientist agrees with, high acidity invites disease and aging. So they're saying this is an anti-aging program. They're saying this is one that you can reduce weight with. I'm telling you, coffee is not going to do that for you. How dare them say coffee is a health food and chocolate's a health food? And these cooked foods we know are absolutely going to set you up for other diseases. This is not an opinion. I'm talking from the voice of science and a depth of experience in a clinical setting. Ever since I was a boy in 1970, I've been doing this work.
All right, well, I mean, that says quite a bit about it. A few more we're going to run past our green tea, buckwheat, which we actually like buckwheat here.
We
right?
love buckwheat.
We love buckwheat. Turmeric, which we also love turmeric.
We
right?
love turmeric.
We love turmeric. Walnuts, arugula, chilies, medjool dates. Now, medjool dates are actually really big in the raw food community, are they not?
That's right.
But in terms of a daily diet, in terms of a daily thing you should be consuming, what are your thoughts on the very sweet date?
Well, if you talk to any serious dentist, at least a biological dentist, they're going to tell you the best way to rot your teeth is to take a date or a dried fruit. It sticks to the teeth like nothing else does. Sugar comes in and goes out, a little bit of residue, but these actually stick. So with children, it's a #1 causative reason, these dried, even if they're organic foods, for teeth decay. Now, the second thing I want to say about this, you're not going to tell me that watching your calories and eating dates are in the same page. If you see what the caloric value in one date is, you're going to blow your mind. And certainly you're not going to lose weight, you're going to gain weight. I used to eat something like a half a pound of those at a time.
Wow.
It was very easy to be a raw fooder on dope, cold sugar.
Yep, it's all sugar, right? So then we have chicory and blueberries. So we're going to continue going with this and go over to the green juice category, because green juice is actually something we do here at Hippocrates Health Institute. We love green juice here. As you said, we're like the leaders in green juice. I mean, wheatgrass wasn't even a thing until Ann Wigmore made it a thing, in my opinion.
That's exactly right.
Right? And so a big part of this diet here is green juice, and which they say you should be taking 1 to 3 times a day. So we also agree with that. We have the Hippocrates green juice here offered twice per day. But let's look at the ingredients of the Sirtfood green juice. As you said before, it starts with kale, right? So we know a little bit about that. We have arugula, parsley, celery, ginger, apple, lemon, and matcha green tea. So anything you would like to point out about that list?
So there's some good things on here, which I'm happy to see. At least along the way, they've added some little bits of healthy foods. Arugula is enormously healthy for you. Arugula is actually a weed. Most places in the world during the warm seasons, you can actually collect it outside. And it's the highest of all common green plants for calcium. This blows everything else out of the water. Amazing. Parsley, big fans. You know, most people say, eat parsley after garlic, eat parsley every single day. It builds the blood cells, the red blood cells, activates stem cells, actually cleanse the body, including the liver, which is the most important to cleanse. Celery, major fans of. Back when we pioneered and invented green drinks, we actually used celery as the base and cucumber. And the rest are sprouts, which are enormously nutritious, and the micronutrients and phytochemicals, the disease-killing and age-preventing elements that you find are so high in the sprouts, they're no comparison to what we're talking about now. Ginger, big fan of it. It's one of the weirdest foods on the planet because it regulates temperature.
Yeah.
It's hot outside, isn't that great?
It's amazing.
Hot outside, you cool. Cold outside, you heat
warm up, yeah.
That's right. And then green apple, bad news. Just because it's green, they think somehow it's not sugar. Green apple actually has more sugar than a lot of the red apples have.
Wow, I don't think a lot of people know that.
Lemon, I'm a fan of lemon, but
Yep.
if you put lemon in the green juice and let it sit for 20, 30 minutes, you've killed it all. And
Interesting.
if you put it in and drink it immediately, it's fine. Now, the acidity level in the lemon switches over to alkalinity, and in that process kills the nutrient loads in it. Now, matcha tea I'm a big fan of. When I was helping to write one of Michio Kushi's books called The Macrobiotic Way, back during my stint as a macro neurotic, as I call them, basically I was taking a lot of matcha tea, but not ground up in a raw form. Now, I assume this is all raw, unless they have some other great idea, like you boil it afterward. Did they say that? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
So what do I think about this? A little tap, not so bad, not so bad.
All right, that's good. So for the phases of the Sirtfood Diet, they have two main phases, and the first one is where they really pull back the calories that they're taking in. Now, if you're anyone on any kind of diet and you pull back your calories, you're going to lose weight.
Eat less.
Yes, eat less. And they say that by pulling back your calories to just 1,000 per day, that you will be losing about 7 pounds per week, which, I mean, I think that would generally kind of go through if you're cutting back your calories that much. What do you think?
Well, yeah, if you're not losing about a pound a day, you're not on the right program, I can tell you that.
And then at that point, what they're saying to do is that now you're going to be integrating more of the Sirtfood foods into your regular diet and just really keeping your caloric restriction back, really restricting as you're incorporating more of these foods. So the diet itself is really built on the idea of restriction in general, plus adding the foods and then kind of keeping the stuff you already like from before. Now, with the Hippocrates diet and what we do here, how much are we focusing on actual restriction in terms of what our guests are coming here to eat?
I learned a long time ago not to restrict anyone, to give them foods that they are so safe and so healing, and they reduce weight inherently and naturally. We don't say don't eat. The biggest problem overweight people like I used to be had is we were used to overeating.
Yeah.
So what I will set people up to do to fail is say don't do that. Eat as many of these healthy foods on the Hippocrates program, you're not going to be overweight. If somebody comes to me 6 months, a year after they embrace this lifestyle and I see they're overweight, they're not on this program. They're definitely not on this program. So we don't tiptoe through the tulips here. We actually take a mower and cut right down the middle of this and go into nature and use the resources that have been here for all time. You know, to pacify people by saying doing a little bit of the old stuff that made you fat to begin with, doing a little bit of the good stuff that is semi-good, and in some cases a lot of good that they're talking about here, isn't the approach. A radical shift in attitude is how people lose weight. A radical shift in diet is how people permanently lose weight. And a radical shift in exercise and daily movement is how people lose weight. I lost 120 pounds. I've worked with people who have lost 400 or 500 pounds, and this is an ongoing thing that our weight loss program does here at Hippocrates. This is not something that's a little good at times with some people, and we want to shift people's consciousness. And if you do that, they won't be overweight.
And I think a last thing that's kind of interesting about the whole caloric restriction thing and what we do here at Hippocrates is that when the guests come here, you know, they'll mound their whole plate full of sprouts, and you see all these sprouts, all these amazing greens, all these nutrient dense foods. And the thing is it takes you a long time to eat all of that food. You're cutting it, you're eating it, and just the process of eating all that healthy food through time, I feel like people start eating less than they originally anticipate, and they start taking smaller portions just because they're being satiated through that time that they're consuming the food. Would you agree?
No question. I mean, this is the highest protein diet, the Hippocrates diet, the highest nutrient diet, vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, hormones, oxygen, phytochemicals, and enzymes. And when your body receives what it's always called out for, it now no longer needs to be eating. I mean, my diet when I was young literally had no nutrition in it. So I was starving. And that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
You're eating ice cream, you're eating pizza, you're eating hamburgers, you're eating bread, you're eating potatoes, you're eating rice, and you're getting fatter and fatter and fatter because the body says, what's going on?
You're not feeding yourself.
You're not being fed. So, you know, we have to give this a C. This isn't the worst diet that we've looked at. And congratulations to Odell. She's one of the greatest singers in modern time that we have. And I hope that she finds a way to find herself and feels so confident about who she is. My God, she's such a great, great, great artist at this point. She no longer has to compromise with lifestyle. Let Odell come over here, as many, many of the singers have come over for the last 65 years.
Yeah.
Top people in the world. So be well till next week. Bye.
Bye.
Diet. Debunk.
Debunk.